Hello, I'm Joey Haskins, and welcome back to You've Never Seen, in which I showcase a movie you've probably never seen before. A lot of movies and shows about crime nowadays focus on forensic science. You know, criminal profiling based off of scientific analysis. It's commonplace nowadays, but that wasn't always the case. One of the movies that is highly credited for the introduction of these methods in the media is today's film, Manhunter. Manhunter is a 1986 film written and directed by Michael Mann and based on the book Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. It follows an FBI profiler named Graham who retired after an incident with a serial killer a few years prior. But he's brought back into the fold when a new killer shows up and the FBI can't make heads or tails on what his deal is. Graham's character likes to get into the minds of the killer, allowing him to think like them and finding out what their next move is going to be. The story and crime itself is pretty standard, but what makes it a good film is Michael Mann's direction of the project. Mann's direction and cinematography is really good. He always places the camera in certain scenes that feel like they're eventually going to reveal something. Scenes build up to a certain event happening, and sometimes it does happen, but other times it doesn't. There's a sense of anticipation for what's going to happen. There's one scene in particular involving a security guard who hears a certain sound come in and out only for it to build up to a new plot point introduced. It really plays well into the noir aspect of the movie, and that goes for the performances as well. Graham, played by William Peterson, is great in the role, and his voiceover work harkens back to detective stories from the 30s and 40s. And his methods of solving a crime create a rift between him and his wife and child. Peterson plays the self-destruction of Graham's life really well. We also get great performances from Dennis Farina, Kim Greist, Joan Allen, and Stephen Lang. Tom Noonan is also really good. He plays Dollarhide, the serial killer called the Tooth Fairy. He has a good section of the film that follows his life and ultimately leads to his downfall. This kind of section of the film would be made into a way to empathize with the killer a bit. But Noonan portrays the inhumanness of the character so that you don't feel any remorse for him. Only that this guy is a horrible person and you shouldn't like him. And like I said, it shows the certain things that happen in his life that would ultimately lead to him being found out by Graham. But of course, the standout of the film is Brian Cox, who plays the serial killer that pushed Graham into retirement, Dr. Hannibal Lecter. Yes, that Hannibal Lecter. He only appears in a few scenes, however his impact is greatly realized. The scenes between Graham and Lecter are interesting. Lecter is the one behind bars, but he immediately gains control of the conversation between the two. Cox portrays Lecter with a clear superiority over others, and it's impressive, having filmed all of his scenes over 3 days. Mann had struggled to find the perfect person to play Lecter. He was even considering putting William Friedkin in the role. However, Brian Dennehy, who was also in the running for the role, told Mann to look at Brian Cox, and was immediately won over by the Scottish actor. Mann had purposefully put Cox in less scenes to leave people wanting more. Of course, future films that would feature the character would put him in many more scenes, so seeing Lecter being held back in the movie is a new change that I like. And to put it into more context, Manhunter's original novel, Red Dragon, was released in 1981, while its sequel, Silence of the Lambs, was released in 1988, 3 years before its film adaptation. Manhunter, though, is much like Mann's other films, very stylistic, but that view is not liked well by critics. It was received poorly by them and barely made back its budget. But as I mentioned, the film would be important in the emphasis of forensic science in the media, including in CSI, a show which also stars William Peterson. Although Manhunter was poorly received, it was not the end of Hannibal Lecter. As many probably know, Thomas Harris's second Lecter book, Silence of the Lambs, was adapted into a film in 1991 and was lauded to the moon and back. It won Best Picture at the Oscars, is considered to be one of the greatest films of all time, and spawned a whole slew of films based off the other Lecter novels. In fact, Manhunter was readapted, this time with Sir Anthony Hopkins as Lecter in Red Dragon. That film was received well and made back its budget, and that's with Manhunter cinematographer Dante Spinati working as director of photography on that film. Maybe it deserves its own episode someday. But for now, Manhunter is a great film that serves as a well-made introduction to Michael Mann and a precursor to one of the most popular horror franchises of all time. You can watch the film on Amazon Prime, or you can check it out at your local library. With Weston Media Center, I'm Joey Haskins, and I'll see you all next time.